Okay, good morning, everybody. This is the Rules Committee. We have attained a quorum with Vice Chair Councilman Scola, Councilwoman Sanchez, and appointees to the committee today, Councilwoman Blackwell and Councilman O. Ms. Marconi, will you please read the title of the first bill?
Bill number 190704, an ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Chestnut Street, 30th Street, Walnut Street, and 31st Lower Level Street.
And Mr. Gregorski, before you start, let me announce that bill number 190553 will be held to the call of the chair at the request of the sponsor. Mr. Gregorski, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Chairperson Greenlee and members of the Rules Committee. I'm Marty Gregorski. I'm a Division Director with the Development Division of the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I'm here to testify on Bill number 190704, which was introduced in the City Council on September 19th of this year by Councilmember Blackwell. This bill rezones the entire block from I-2 Medium Industrial to CMX-5 Center City Commercial Mixed Use. This zoning change is supported not only in the Philadelphia 2035 citywide vision, but also via direct rezoning recommendation of the University Southwest District Plan. The location of this parcel in University City and adjacent to the multimodal transportation hub of 30th Street Station area is in alignment with the proposed zoning change. The Philadelphia City Planning Commission considered Bill number 190704 at its meeting of October 15th of this year and recommended it for approval, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, Councilwoman Blackwell.
Thank you very much. This is an area, a project, Horizon House. Most people know them because of the work that they do, Horizon House. And this whole area would be rezoned to allow other things that happen in the area. Most of you will know it because it starts at 30th Street where the bank is. Penn owns everything. Then it goes all the way around the corner to District Council, Pete Matthews. 33. District Council 33, and then it does the Penn Radio, WK, I call everything WKRP, but it goes there. So everything in that area would be rezoned. So we may end up doing a few things to tighten it up next Thursday when it comes up. We may do a few amendments, but for the most part, we've worked with Horizon House for many years since they came there, and we know the players, and we're looking forward to working everything out so that it can move forward for new development in that area that's continuing to change and move up.
And it seems from what Mr. Gregorski said that it's making it necessary commercial mixed use meets really what is needed there more than the industrial that's done now. Is that basically?
That's correct, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I should have let you say it. You called on me and you said it, and 2 sentences better than I did in 10. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilwoman. And at the meeting, there will be an amendment, which is the Equal Opportunity Plan. And as the Councilwoman said, that still may be adjusted some, but we have a signed EOP, which will be presented at the committee meeting. Any other questions for Mr. Gregorski? Anyone else here to testify on bill number 190704? Seeing none, Ms. Marconi, our second bill today.
Bill number 190717, an ordinance continuing the Philadelphia Hospitality Improvement Levy District, the district, a business improvement district encompassing certain existing and future hotel properties within the boundaries of the city of Philadelphia, the city, and continuing the Philadelphia Hospitality Improvement Levy District Corporation, PHILDC, to serve as the Neighborhood Improvement District Management Association for the district, approving a new plan for the district, including a list of proposed programs and services related to the development and promotion of the hotel and tourism industry in the city and the county of Philadelphia and their estimated costs, providing for special assessment fees to be levied on eligible hotel property owners within the district to fund such programs and services, authorizing the Director of Commerce on behalf of the city to execute an agreement with PHILDC relating to the district and reauthorizing PHILDC to assess eligible property owners within the district and collect or cause to be collected special assessment fees to be used in accordance with the approved plan, all in accordance with the provisions of the Community and Economic Improvement Act and under certain terms and conditions.
Thank you. You just want to announce the witnesses, please?
Ed Gross and Julie Coker Graham.
Well, they have a written testimony. And we also have written testimony from Sylvie Gallier Howard from the Commerce Department in support of the bill. That will be made part of the record. Whoever would like to go first?
Yes. Huge microphones.
Good morning. My name is Julie Coker Graham, and I'm President and CEO of the Philadelphia Convention and Visitors Bureau. I'm here today to testify regarding Bill number 190717, the proposed legislation to extend the Philadelphia Hospitality Investment Levy, also known as the PHIL. Thank you for the opportunity to provide testimony on this important legislation. I'm also grateful to the Greater Philadelphia Hotel Association for championing the inception of the PHIL back in 2017. Simply put, the PHIL has helped our city compete nationally to win meetings, conventions, and sporting events. Each event the PHIL supports provides yet another opportunity to strengthen the Philadelphia economy and generate more resources for promoting our city as a top U.S. destination. Since the inception of the PHIL has helped fund and secure 81 events with many others on the way. These events will attract more than 1.3 attendees to our city, who will consume more than 1.5 million hotel room nights in Philadelphia County. Combined, the events are expected to generate an estimated $1.3 billion in economic impact and $63 million in tax revenue for the city of Philadelphia. PHIL funds have been instrumental in helping us secure diverse meetings and events. In total, the PHIL has provided $895,000 in direct support to diverse related businesses, or 8.5% of which has been totally awarded. For example, the PHIL funds were incredibly helpful in securing the Shriners, who will be with us, 18,000 attendees, during the month of August in 2021, which is a critical need for our tourism community. In addition, the PHIL has supported groups like Kappa Alpha Psi and AKAs who will be here next summer. The impact of the PHIL funding reaches far into our minority businesses. By bringing the Kappas this past summer, we were able to connect them with locally owned minority businesses. Another example is how we were able to bring 2026 the MLB Major All-Star Game. It's a multi-day high-profile event which is expected to attract more than 100,000 fans to the city and generate over 30,000 hotel rooms. In closing, I urge all members of City Council to support Council Bill 190717, the extension of Philadelphia Hospitality Investment Levy, so that we can continue putting Philadelphians to work by supporting major events and conventions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gross?
Good morning, Chairman Greenlee and members of the Rules Committee. My name is Ed Gross, and I'm the Executive Director of the Greater Philadelphia Hotel Association and President of the Philadelphia Hospitality Investment Levy, known in the hospitality industry as the PHIL. The PHIL is an organization consisting of every hotel in Philadelphia with more than 50 rooms. I am testifying in strong support of Bill number 190717, which will extend the authorization of the PHIL by 20 years. On behalf of the entire Philadelphia hospitality industry, we would like to thank Councilman Greene for championing the original PHIL legislation as well as this extension. The reason we need to extend this legislation is that we would like to continue to commit funds for future conventions and large groups. To date, we have committed over $11.3 million to future conventions. If we continue giving awards at the current rate, we'll be out of funds in 17 months, which will result in not being able to continue to secure future conventions and large events. The reason we are asking for a 20-year extension is because we are receiving applications for events that take place as far out as 2037. There are over 18,000 hotel rooms in Philadelphia, employing 13,000 people, 80% of whom are Philadelphia residents, living in every neighborhood of the city and making an average living wage of nearly $40,000. Our employees look like Philadelphia, in part because we work with agencies such as Philadelphia OIC, Congreso de Latinos, Philadelphia Academies, and Philadelphia Works to ensure a diverse workforce, from the frontline employees to upper management. These jobs are part of the larger hospitality industry in the city, which employ over 70,000 jobs. Most of our entry-level jobs are in high demand among citizens in Philadelphia, and all of these jobs are dependent on outsiders choosing to visit Philadelphia and spend money in our city. Our room rates and occupancy have reached record highs lately, thanks to the hard work of our partners at Visit Philadelphia, the Philadelphia Convention and Visitors Bureau, and the Pennsylvania Convention Center Authority. These organizations have been working together with the hotel industry more effectively and collaboratively than ever, as the results show. However, we are facing significant challenges in the future. By the summer of 2020, our room inventory will have increased by 45% since the midst of the Great Recession. Our partner organizations deliver exceptional value and results, and Philadelphia is going to need each of them to continue to execute their core missions to help fill our hotels to their maximum capacity. There's a core difference between the hospitality industry in Philadelphia and that of many of our peer cities. Comparable cities such as New York, Boston, Chicago, and Washington have a much larger segment of their hotel business that originates from corporations headquartered there and the strong demand from corporate travel that they generate. In Philadelphia, we depend on a mix of convention, leisure, and corporate business to drive demand. But our corporate travel segment lags in comparison to that of our peer cities, meaning that we heavily rely on convention and group business to drive rate and hotel room revenues. In other cities, booking a large convention does not have a sizable impact on hotel performance. But here, it can mean a 10 to 15% increase in occupancy and more than 50% increase in room revenues, which is all of the difference between a very good day and a very bad day. So it is critical for those 80,000 city hospitality jobs that we continue to have a convention center that is thriving and marketing campaigns both nationally and internationally that will attract more visitors to fill our rooms. Prominent events like the NFL Draft, Made in America, the DNC Convention, and the Pope's Visit are also a core part of the strategy of filling hotel rooms and restaurants to compensate for that lack of corporate travel. There are over 160 funds nationally that are similar to the Phil, in cities as different from each other as Newark, Dallas, Memphis, Tampa Bay, New Orleans, and Seattle, and 12 other states are considering creating similar tourism improvement districts as well. TID funds are being used nationwide to compete for large conventions and events. It is worth noting that our fund is small compared to most of our peer cities like San Diego at $35 million, San Francisco at $25 million, Los Angeles at $23 million, New Orleans at $14 million, and Dallas at $13.5 million. Bill number 190717 is needed to effectively continue our successful efforts of attracting citywide conventions and events for the benefit of all hotels, their employees, and thousands of other city businesses that also see impact from the visitor economy. Looking to the future growth of the Philadelphia hospitality industry, the Phil provides a dedicated source of funding that is crucial for Philadelphia to remain competitive in conventions and events marketplace. For these reasons, the Hotel Association asks for your support to extend our authorization to keep Philadelphia competitive. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Mark first. Councilman Scola?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you both for testifying. And how long has the Phil been in?
We started collecting the funds in January of 2018.
All right, so it's basically only a year?
A year and 10 months.
And in that time, have you been able to create interest in bringing additional room nights to the city of Philadelphia by using the Phil?
Absolutely. So far to date, We have done everything that we have said that we set out to do, and that is to have strict guidelines that every award we get has to produce room nights. For example, when I testified before you in 2017, I said that our goal was to get 8-to-1 incremental return on our investment. If we calculated the incremental return on our investment on the awards that we've given out to date, and we are at for every dollar we have spent, we have received $59 back in hotel revenue.
So it's a bonus to the hotel.
Absolutely,
Yes.
and 20% of the events that we've booked are new business to Philadelphia, so they're conventions that had not been here before.
Well, that's great. Now, as far as the bill, when it passed, why do we have to extend it to 20 years? Was there an initial 5-year process?
Initially, we did 5 years, and we found that we've been forecasting our funds, and we've been keeping a close watch on it. And in order to keep the continuity of the fund and not have to shut the fund down, we feel that if we ask for 20 years, that will give us a considerable time to book more future conventions and large
And then
groups.
every 20 years would be for renewal?
Yes. I think, if we continue to be successful with this fund, it may be sooner than 20 years. But yes, we're asking for 20 just so we can continue the success of the program.
I mean, that sounds great if you could get that higher rate of return. I know we do a lot of bids, and you always hear the concerns about, the money being invested. How does that benefit the people who are involved in those boundaries or those organizations? And for a city that's growing in hotel room nights, which is great, and I know it's always a fear of the hotels that are currently there, and also the challenges that are brought on by maybe Airbnbs and other things that are out there. These things we as a city need to really look at to try to promote, to keep that interest and people coming to the city of Philadelphia. And hopefully we can look at other legislations too to make sure that everybody is playing by the same rules and doing the same thing to promote the city of Philadelphia properly and fairly. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Sanchez?
Thank you, Ed, and I'm happy to hear that that future forecasting. I was very concerned about the 20 years. It's like, that's a long time. But looking that you have at conventions at 2037, one of the issues that I brought up when we first established your fund, there were 2 issues, but one of them was the concern around diversity. And I know since then, there have been other folks who've come into the market. Can you speak to the Phil's diversity on its board?
Well, we make sure, the one thing that the leeway that we have when we're discussing awards, we do give special consideration for diverse conventions. So we may not be as strict on a convention that has a diversity component to it. As far as the diversity of, when I look at the diversity of what this brings to diversity in our industry is the jobs that it's creating. As I was reading my testimony, I was thinking to myself, I really should have concentrated more on the jobs. Because if you look at our workforce, you will see a very diverse group of professionals who are working in our industry. And when I meet with, anytime a new GM comes to the city, I meet with that GM, and one of the questions I ask them is what was their start in the hospitality industry? And at this point in time, every one of my general managers started out as a bellman, started out as a front desk clerk, started out as a busboy. There's not any one person in my industry or amongst our general managers that started out in management. And then also, in the past, there's been some concerns about the diversity of our general managers. We still have a ways to go, but there is some hope in that I look at the most recent hires of some prominent hotels. If you take the Philadelphia Downtown Marriott, which is the biggest or the largest hotel in the Commonwealth. The general manager there is of a diverse background. The gentleman who was hired at the W Element, Ed Baton, is an African-American male. So we are making progress on the general manager's level, but we still have a ways to go. And we also don't control over who the corporations hire for those positions, but we do make our voice
think that people should feel a responsibility for as in your membership, right? Around
Yes.
that and around those goals, and they just can't be aspirational. It would be important if you could also speak to what is the living wage, quality of jobs that the industry in total, and what more work needs to be done there. We have this whole poverty discussion, lifting people out of poverty. This is an industry that's important, but we also want to make sure that we're growing living wage jobs. Can you speak to me about that?
Absolutely, thank you. I love that question, because when we recently worked on the Fair Work Week legislation about a year and a half ago, I think is when we started, it was a learning experience for me when a hotel GM of a convention hotel, he did a poll of all hourly wage jobs in his hotel. And he came up with, in that particular hotel, the average wage for when you take management out was $44,000 a year.
Awesome.
With benefits and even pet bereavement leave, which I thought was interesting. And then also whenever the longevity of employees is talked about in hotels, I'm always personally amazed. For example, when the Four Seasons closed, which is now the Logan, there was 25 people or 25 employees who had been there since opening day in 1983. I look at, the friends that I've, met in the industry, the doorman at the Hilton at Penn's Landing, Lawrence, has been there since opening day. Several frontline employees at all the large hotels. It's amazing how long they've been in their jobs, and they stay because they're happy, they're making a good livable wage, and, they're just, the hospitality industry, so we take care of our own. Mm-hmm. Now you can,
So is there any work to be done? Are there still folks who still need to come in line around those fair wages?
I would stand by my industry that we're doing a good job. I think where, when I think about the bad players, I think most of the hotels that are in Center City are doing a good job. The hotels that may not be doing a good job are the hotels that are on the fringes that, the hotels that you or I would probably not stay in. And the independent hotels. So any chain type hotels in our city, I feel, are doing a great job.
Okay. And then lastly, you and I talked about this a little bit. There were discussions when we first passed this legislation around the need to look at all the different organizations we had doing promotions and realigning them. I expressed to you I have a real interest in looking at how we better maximize the World Heritage designation in a global market. Can you speak to and put on the record where you guys are around that alignment?
Well, we at the request of the mayor, we put together a study that was published in January of this year, asking the two marketing agencies, the CVB and Visit Philly, to work closer together. And they have been working hard on meeting the request in that study. They are about to hire a project manager who will see, and I'll let Julie speak further on this, but they hired a project manager who will oversee that they are working better towards combining efforts. Like, for example, their research departments are working closer together. And, would you like to elaborate on that?
So to speak specifically to the World Heritage City, so we do use it. We work very closely. So both Jeff and I are on the Global Philadelphia board, as well as Shelley Cameron. So in all of our marketing and promotion material, we use it in our trade show booth, we use it in our print material, and we consider them to be a partner. So that message is definitely carried out in any of the global tourism efforts that both Jeff and I have. To speak to the GPHA study, we're working very closely together. There's a number of initiatives that we were already underway, and certainly this is helping us work more closely together.
Because do either of you know, when you add up all those budgets, what we're investing in this sector in totality? Between the Convention and Visitors Bureau, hotel. I think it's significant because you made a point in your testimony to speak to the hotel fund may be less than other cities, but we really got to look at the entire market and all of those budgets, right? And see, are we investing significantly? And that's why the alignment of those organizations, so that we don't have 5 back offices and 5 research departments is important. And how do we get there, right?
Absolutely.
Was part of the discussion when we first talked about this.
And I would say that we found some great synergies together in terms of efficiency. And one of those, as Ed talked about, was the research department. We both have databases and we both are doing different types of research, but there are some alignments there. And so Jeff and I have worked closely on that. Advocacy efforts, also too with our diversity programs, we're looking at where we can cross over. So that is always a topic of conversation that we continue to go down. In terms of budgets, in terms of Philadelphia's budget versus other major cities and competitive, we are very competitive. In terms of the fill, which is kind of the above and beyond, that's where we sometimes fall a little bit short in terms of other cities. But in terms of our two operating budgets, we are competitive.
So in terms of, again, we had talked about post-Merle, like the alignment stuff. How is that happening? Those things don't happen unless we're intentional, right? This is a personality-driven industry, like just like politics. So it's like, what else could we be doing to help promote that so we're sending a common vision about, right? And I know that the sectors are different, right? Filling hotel rooms is different than filling the convention center, and I get those lanes. But when you look at all of these, it's sort of like, at some point, we all got to make sure, and what do we need to do in government to help that along?
So I think the first thing, I think you're absolutely right, it is personality. And the great thing is that Jeff and I were not just friends, but respected colleagues prior to him joining Visit Philadelphia. And so from the onset, it was, what does the next 5 to 10 years look like for both organizations? And so what we did is we took a look at the study, and those were some fundamental recommendations that we're working towards. So we've got timelines, we've got goals, and one of the things that I think will help us both is this project manager who will help guide this. Because as we're working towards the future, we also have to deal with today. So that project manager is going to make sure that we're hitting milestones, goals. We're working closely with Manny and Nick, our two chairs, as well as our boards, to outline what those next steps look like, and then of course working closely with the Hotel Association. In terms of what you can do personally is certainly the support that we've always received around hospitality and tourism is great, but I think that we all realize that Philadelphia has to win, and the only way that we're going to do that is that if we're all rowing in the same direction. And I can tell you from our organization, I can certainly speak on Jeff's behalf as well, we want Philadelphia to win, and so as long as we remain focused on that goal, I know that we'll be successful in creating these greater efficiencies.
Well, we thank you again. We value this industry, the jobs, the employment. It's one of the places where Philadelphians really do have access, and we appreciate all your work in that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Record reflect Councilman Greene's been appointed to the committee today. He's a sponsor of this bill. Councilman?
Yeah, I'll be brief because there's been a lot of commentary regarding this legislation. I just want to thank the leadership of both Ed Gross from the Greater Philadelphia Hotel Association and Julie Coker-Graham, Convention Visitors Bureau, for the work you've done in this regard. This is an opportunity to continue the momentum of growing our hospitality industry here in the city of Philadelphia. This legislation came about because of the lack of resources that we had when we tried to bring events to the city of Philadelphia. Principally, from my recollection, was the NBA All-Star Game that wanted to come to Philadelphia when they had the very unfortunate situation with their legislation in North Carolina, and they wanted to come back to Philadelphia because we did a phenomenal job of hosting the All-Star Game some years ago. But we did not have the resources to do that. We could not just go into our general fund and take dollars out for this type of initiative, even though it was going to bring back dollars into the city of Philadelphia. So having the Philadelphia Hospitality Improvement Levy has been a great boon from my perspective. It helps provide jobs for people in the city of Philadelphia and helps us to grow our hospitality industry. As my colleague, Councilmember Maria Sanchez was talking about in reference to coordination, I think we are moving in that direction. It's funny, Ed, you were talking about rowing. I know you're a rower. Mark and I were on the water this morning. But I see that dynamic occurring through all the various agencies that try to promote Philadelphia. As you all know, we also have a Global Identity Project initiative, and there's an opportunity to provide additional resources for that initiative through this work. And I think that will continue to move and broaden the city of Philadelphia, not just in the region, not just throughout the Commonwealth, but around the nation internationally, how this is a great city. This is the birthplace of America. We all know we have our 250th anniversary for this country. country 2026. So the work we're doing here, the passage of this legislation will even move us even further along, so that way we can have a great celebration and increase the industry here in the city of Philadelphia to reduce jobs and to reduce the level of poverty that we have in our city. So thank you for your work you've done in this regard.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman. Thank you for your work on this. Any other questions for this panel? Seeing none, thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else here to testify on bill number 190717? Seeing none, that will conclude the hearing of the Committee on Rules, and we will go into our public meeting in about 30 seconds. Okay, it was slightly longer than 30 seconds, but this is the meeting of the Rules Committee, and you just want to move the amendment and the other two bills. And Chair recognizes Councilman Scola.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move the bill number 1907, the amendment to bill number 190704 be approved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, and just for the record, that is the equal opportunity plan to that bill. All in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that bill is amended. Now, Councilman Scola.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move the bill number 190704 as amended and bill number 190717 be approved with suspension of the rules to be read at next session of council.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the two bills as read by Councilman Scola with the appropriate amendment will be reported as committee favorably with a rule suspension to allow for first reading at our next session of council, which happens to be tomorrow. Thank you very much. That concludes our business before the Rules Committee. Thank you all for your participation.